students, welcome to the PD Life Science Academy for the Happy Learning. NEET एक्झामची प्रिपरेशन जे विद्यार्थी करत आहेत त्यांच्यासाठी बेसिक कन्सेप्ट लर्निंग आणि लिंकिंग ऑफ कन्सेप्ट हे जेवढे गरजेचे आहे तेवढेच NCERT बुकमधील चॅप्टरचे कंटेंट रीड करणे आवश्यक आहे. हे करत असताना फक्त एक रीडिंग करून चालणार नाही, मल्टिपल टाइम्स रिव्हिजन होणे गरजेचे आहे. यात टाळाटाळ करणे चांगले नव्हे. आपण सेट केलेले टार्गेट अचीव करण्यासाठी PD लाईफ सायन्स अकॅडमीने सर्व स्टुडंटसाठी जे नीट एक्झामचे प्रिपरेशन करीत आहेत त्यांच्यासाठी 21 डे रीडिंग चॅलेंजची सुरुवात केली आहे. रोज एका चॅप्टरचे रीडिंग आपण कंप्लीट करणार आहोत. हे चॅलेंज ज्या विद्यार्थ्यांनी ॲक्सेप्ट केले आहे त्यांनी त्यांचे डेली टार्गेट अचीव केल्यावर कॉमेंट करून सांगायचे आहे. सो लेट्स गेट रेडी फॉर टेकिंग रीडिंग चॅलेंज. ऑल द व्हेरी बेस्ट. थँक यू. 21 डे बायोलॉजी रीडिंग चॅलेंज. Day 5 reading challenge, chapter number 5 from NCERT biology textbook of 11th standard. 5th chapter, Morphology of flowering plants. The wide range in the structure of the higher plants will never fail to fascinate us. Even though the angiosperm shows such a large diversity in the external structure or the morphology, they are all characterized by the presence of roots, stem, leaves, flowers and the fruits. In chapter number 2 and the 3rd, we talk about the classification of the plant based on the morphological and the other characteristics. For any successful attempt at a classification and at understanding any higher plant, or for that matter any living organism, we need to understand the technical terms and standard definitions. We also need to know about the possible variation in the different parts found as adaptations of the plants to their environments. For example, the adaptation to various habitats for protection, climbing and the storage, etc. If you pull out any weed, you will see that all of them have the roots, stem and leaves. They may be bearing flowers and the fruits. Underground parts of the flowering plant is the root system, while the portion above the ground forms the shoot system. Now the 5.1, the root. In majority of the dicotyledonous plant, the direct elongation of the radicle leads to the formation of the primary root, which grows inside the soil. It bears the lateral roots of several orders that are referenced to the secondary, tertiary, etc. roots. Primary roots and its branches constitutes the taproot system as seen in the mustard plant. In monocotyledonous plant, the primary root is short-lived and is placed by the large number of roots. These roots originated from the base of the stem and constitute the fibrous root system as seen in the wheat plant. In some plants like grasses, monstera and banyan tree, roots arises from the parts of the plant other than the radicle and called as adventitious roots. The main function of the root system are absorption of the water and minerals from the soil, providing a proper anchorage to the plant part, storing the reserved food material and synthesis of the plant growth regulators. Now the 5.1.1, the region of the roots. The roots is covered as apex by the thimble-like structures called as a root cap. Protects the tender apex of the root as it makes its way through the soil. The few millimeter above the root cap is the region of the meristematic activity. The cell of this region are the very small, thin wall and with the dense protoplasm. They divide repeatedly. The cell proximal to this region undergo a rapid elongation and enlargement are responsible for the growth of the root in the length. The region is called as a region of elongation. The cell of the elongation zone gradually differentiate and the matures. Hence, this zone proximal to the region of the elongation is called as a region of the maturation. From this region, some of the epidermal cells form a very fine and delicate thread-like structure called as root hairs. These root hairs absorb the water and minerals from the soil. Now the 5.1.2 is a modification of roots. Roots in some plants change their shape and structure and becomes the modified to perform the functions other than absorption and conduction of water and minerals. They are modified for the support, storage of the food and the respiration. The taproot of the carrot, turnip and the adventitious root of the sweet potato get swollen and they store the food. Can you give some more examples? Have you ever wondered what those hanging structures that support the banyan trees are? These are called as a prop roots, and similarly the stems of the maize and the sugarcane have the supporting roots coming out of the lower nodes of the stem. These are called as a stilt root. In some plants such as the rhizophora growing in the swampy areas, many roots come out of the ground and grow vertically upward. Such a roots called as a nematophores helps to get the oxygen for the respiration. Now the modification of roots for the storage is turnip, carrot and the sweet potato, and for respiration purpose is the nematophore in the rhizophora. Now the 5.2, the stem. What are the features that distinguish the stem from the root? The stem is the ascending part of the axis bearing the branches, leaves, flowers and the fruits. It develops from the plumule of the embryo of the germinating seeds. The stem bears the nodes and internodes. The region of the stem where the leaves are born are called as a nodes, while internodes are portion between the two nodes. The stem bears the bud which may be terminal or axillary. Stem is generally green when young and later often becomes woody and the dark brown. The main function of the stem is the spreading out the branches bearing leaves, flowers and the fruits. It conducts the water, minerals and the photosynthesis. Some stem perform the function of the storage of the food, support, protection and of the vegetative propagation. Now the 5.2.1 is a modification of stem. The stem may not always be typically like what they are expected to be. They are modified to perform the different functions. Underground stem of the potato, ginger, turmeric, zamicum, colocasia are the modified to store the food in them. They also act as an organ of perennation to tide over the condition unfavorable for the growth. The stem tendrils which develops from the axillary bud are slender and spirally coiled and help plant to climb, such as in the gourd, that is the cucumber, pumpkin, watermelon and the grapevines. Axillary bud of the stem may also get modified into the woody, straight and the pointed thorns. The thorns are found in the many plants such as the citrus, bougainvillea. They protect the plant from the browsing animals, and some plants are the arid region modified their stem into the flattened, that is in case of opuntia, and the fleshy slender in case of euphorbia structures. They contain the chlorophyll and carry out the photosynthesis. Underground stem of some plants such as the grass and strawberry etc. spread to new niches, and when older parts dies, the new plant are formed. In plants like mint and the jasmine, a slender lateral branches arises from the base of the main axis and after growing aerially for some time arc downward to touch the grounds. A lateral branch with a short internode and each node bearing a rosette of the leaves and a tip of the root is found in aquatic plants like pistia and econia. In banana, pineapple and chrysanthemum, the lateral branches originate from the basal and underground portion of the main stem. grow horizontally beneath the soil and then come out obliquely upward, giving rise to the leafy shoot. Now the 5.3, the leaf. The leaf is a lateral, generally flattened structure borne on the stem, and it develops at the node and bears a bud in its axil. The axillary bud later develops into the branch, and leaves originate from the shoot apical meristem and are arranged in the acropetal order. They are the most important vegetative organs for the photosynthesis. A typical leaf consists of the three main parts: leaf, base, petiole, and the lamina. The leaf is attached to the stem by the leaf base and may bear two lateral small leaves-like structures called as stipules. In monocotyledon, the leaf base expands into the sheath covering the stem partially or wholly. In some leguminous plant, the leaf base may become the solen, which is called as pulvinus. The petiole helps to hold the blades to the light. Long, thin, flexible petiole allows the leaf blades to flutter in the wind, thereby cooling the leaf and bringing the fresh air to leaf surface. The lamina or the leaf blades is the green expanded part of the leaf with the veins and the veinlets. There is usually a middle prominent vein which is known as. The vein provides the rigidity to the leaf blade and act as a channel of the transport for the water, minerals and the food material. The shape, margin, apex, surface and extent of the incision of the lamina varies in the different leaves. Now the 5.3.1 is the venation. The arrangement of the veins and the veinlets in the lamina of the leaf is termed as a venation. When the veinlet forms the network, the venation is termed as a reticulate. When the vein is run parallel to each other within the lamina, the venation is termed as a parallel. Leaves of the dicotyledonous plant generally possess the reticulate venation, while parallel venation is a characteristic of most monocotyledon. 5.3.2 The types of leaves. The leaves is said to be the simple when its lamina is entire or when the incision do not touch the midrib. When the incision of the lamina reach up to the midrib, breaking it into a number of leaflets, the leaf is called as a compound. The bud is present in the axil of the petiole in both simple and the compound leaves, but not in the axil of the leaflets of the compound leaves. The compound leaves may be of two types. In a pinnately compound leaves, the number of the leaflets are present on a common axis, the rachis, which represent the midrib of the leaf as in the neem. In palmately compound leaves, the leaflets are attached at the common point, that is at the tip of the petiole, as in the silk cotton. 5.3.3 Phyllotaxy. Phyllotaxy is a pattern of arrangement of the leaves on the stem or the branches. This is usually the three types: alternate, opposite and poles. In alternate type of the phyllotaxy, a single leaf arises at each node in alternate manner, as in China rose, mustard and sunflower plants. In opposite type, the pair of the leaves arises at each node and lies opposite to each other, as in the calotropis and the guava plants. If more than the two leaves arises at a node and forms a whole, it is called as a whole, as in the Alstonia. Now the 5.3.4 The modification of leaves. Leaves are often modified to perform the functions other than the photosynthesis. They are converted into the tendrils for the climbing as a pea, or into the spines for defense, as in the cacti. The fleshy leaves of the onion and the garlic store the food. In some plants such as the Australian acacia, the leaves are the small and the short-lived. The petiole in this plant expanded and becomes green and synthesize the food. Leaves of the citrus plant such as the pitcher plant Venus flytrap are also modified leaves. 5.4 The inflorescence. The flower is a modified shoot wherein the shoot apical meristem changes to the floral meristem. Internode do not elongate and axis get condensed. The apex produce the different kinds of the floral appendages laterally at a successive nodes instead of the leaves. When a shoot tip transforms into flower, it is always a solitary. The arrangement of flower on the floral axis is termed as a inflorescence, depending on whether the apex get developed into the flower or continue to grow. Two major types of inflorescence are defined, the racemose and the cymose. In racemose type of inflorescence, the main axis continue to grow. The flowers are borne laterally in an acropetal succession. In cymose type of the inflorescence, the main axis terminates in the flower, hence is limited in growth. The flowers are borne in the basipetal order. 5.5 The flower. The flower is a reproductive unit in the angiosperm. It is meant for the sexual reproduction. A typical flower has 4 different kinds of the holes arranged successively on the solid end of the stalk or the petiole called as a thalamus or the receptacle. These are the calyx, corolla, androecium and the gynoecium. Calyx and corolla are the accessory organs while the androecium and the gynoecium are reproductive organs. In some flowers like lily, the calyx and corolla are not distinct and are termed as a perianth. When the flower has both androecium and the gynoecium, it is a bisexual. The flower having either one stamen or only carpel is a unisexual. In symmetry, the flower may be actinomorphic, which shows the radial symmetry, or zygomorphic, which shows the bilateral symmetry. When the flower can be divided into 2 equal radial halves in any radial plane passing through the center, it is said to be the actinomorphic. For example, the mustard, datura, chili. When it can be divided into 2 similar halves only in one particular vertical plane, it is a zygomorphic. For example, pea, gulmohar, beans and cassia. A flower is asymmetric, means the irregular, if it cannot be divided into the 2 similar halves by any vertical plane passing through the center, as in the camma. Flower may be trimerous, tetramerous or pentamerous when the flower appendages are in the multiple of the 3, 4 or 5 respectively. Flowers with a bract reduce the leaf found at the base of the pedicel are called as a bracteate, and those without the bract called as a ebracteate. Based on the position of the calyx, corolla and androecium is a respect of the ovary on the thalamus, the flower are described as a hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous. In hypogynous flowers, the gynoecium occupies the highest position while the other parts are situated below it. The ovary in such a flower is said to be the superior, for example the mustard, china rose and the brinjal. In gymnosperm, if the gynoecium is situated in the center and other parts of the flower are located on the rim of the thalamus almost at the same level, it is called as a perigynous. The ovary here is said to be the half inferior, for example the plum, rose, peach, etc. In epigynous flowers, the margin of the thalamus grows upward, enclosing the very completely and getting the fuse with it, and other parts of the flower arises above the ovary. Hence the ovary is said to be the inferior, as in the flower of the guava and the cucumber, and the ray florets of the sunflower. Now the 5.5.1 the parts of the flower. Each flower normally has 4 floral holes, while the calyx, corolla, androecium and the gynoecium. Now the 5.5.1.1 is a calyx. Calyx is the outermost core of the flower and the member are called as a sepal. Generally, sepals are the green, leaf-like and protects the flower in the bud stage. The calyx may be gamosepalous. Sepals are united, or polysepalous means sepals are in free condition. Now the 5.5.1.2 corolla. Corolla is a composed of the petals. Petals are usually brightly colored to attract the insect for pollination. Like calyx, corolla may also be gamopetalous, petal united, or polypetalous means petals are the free. The shape and the color of the corolla vary greatly in the plant. Corolla may be tubular, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped, or a wheel-shaped. Aestivation. The mode of arrangement of the sepals or the petals in a flower bud with respect to the other members of the same host is known as the aestivation. Main type of the aestivation are the valvate, twisted, imbricate, and the vexillary. When the sepals or the petals in the whole just touch one another at the margin without overlapping, as in the calotropis, it is said to be the valvate. If one margin of the appendage overlaps that of the next one, and so on, as in the China rose, the ladyfinger, and the cotton, it is called as a twisted. If the margin of the sepals or the petals overlap one another but not in any particular direction, as in the cassia and the gulmohar, the aestivation is called as imbricate. Pea and the bean flowers, there are the 5 petals, and the largest is called as a standard, overlaps the 2 lateral petals, that is the wings, and which in turn overlaps the 2 smallest anterior petals, that is known as the quills. The type of the aestivation is called as a vexillary or papilionaceous aestivation. Now the 5.5.1.5 Androecium. Androecium is a composed of the stamen. Each stamen, which represent the male reproductive organ, consists of a stalk or the filament and the anther. Each anther usually bilobed, and each lobe has 2 chambers, the pollen sac. The pollen grains are produced in the pollen sac. Sterile stamens called as staminodes. Stamens of the flower may be united with other members such as the petals and among themselves. When the stamens are attached to the petals are called as epipetalous, as in the brinjal, or epiphyllous when attached to the perianth, as in the flower of the lily. The stamen in the flower may either remain free or polyandrous, or may be united in varying degree. The stamen may be united into one bunch or one bundle called as a monoadalpous as in the China rose, or 2 bundles, that is the diadalpous as in the pea, or into more than the 2 bundles, that is the polyadalpous as in the citrus. There may be variations in the length of the filamentous within the flower, and as in the salvia and the mustard. Now the 5.5.1.4 is a gynoecium. Gynoecium is a female reproductive part of the flower and is made up of the one or the more carpels. Carpel consists of the 3 parts, namely the stigma, style, and the ovary. Ovary is the enlarged basal part on which lies the elongated tube. Style connects the ovary to the stigma, and the stigma is usually at the tip of the style and is a receptive surface for the pollen grains. Each ovary bears the one or the more ovule attached to the flattened cushion-like placenta. When more than the one carpel is present, they may be free, as in the lotus and the rose, and are called as apocarpus. They are termed as a syncarpus when the carpels are fused, as in the mustard and the tomato. After fertilization, the ovule develops into the seed and the ovary mature into the fruits. Placentation. The arrangement of the ovule within the ovary is known as a placentation. Placentation are of the different types, namely the marginal, axial, parietal, basal, central, and the free central. In marginal placentation, the placenta forms the ride along the ventral sutures of the ovary, and ovules are born on this ride, forming the 2 rows as in the pea. When the placenta is exiled, the ovules are attached to it in multilocular ovary. The placenta is said to be the exile, as in the China rose, tomato and the lemon. In parietal placentation, the ovule develops on the inner wall of the ovary or a peripheral part. Ovary is a one chamber, but it becomes the two chamber due to the formation of the false septum. For example, the mustard and argemone. When the ovules are born on the central axis and the septa are absent, as in the dianthus and the primrose, the placentation is called as a free central. In basal placentation, the placenta develops at the base of the ovary and the single ovule is attached to it, as in the sunflower and the marigold. The 5.6 is the fruit. The fruit is a characteristic features of the flowering plant. It is a mature or the ripened ovary develops after fertilization. If the fruit is formed without fertilization of the ovary, it is called as a parthenocarpic fruit. Generally, the fruit consists of the wall or the pericarp and the seed. The pericarp may be dry or the fleshy. When the pericarp is thick and the fleshy, it is differentiated into the outer epicarp and the middle mesocarp, and the inner is endocarp. In mango and the coconut, the fruits is known as a drupe. They develop from the monocarpellary superior ovary and are one-seeded. In mango, the pericarp is well differentiated into the outer thin epicarp and the middle fleshy edible mesocarp and the inner stony hard epicarp. In coconut, which is also a drupe, the mesocarp is fibrous. Now the 5.7 is a seed. The ovule after fertilization develops into the seed. A seed is made up of a seed coat and an embryo. Embryo is made up of the radicle and embryonal axis and one, as in the wheat and the maize, or two cotyledons, as in the gram and the peas. 5.7.1 The structure of the dicotyledonous seed. The outermost covering of the seed is a seed coat. The seed coat has two layers, the outer testa and the inner tegmen. The helium is a scar on the seed coat through which the developing seed were attached to the fruit. Above the helium, the small pore called as a micropyle within the seed coat is an embryo consisting of the embryonal axis and the two cotyledons. The cotyledons are often fleshy and full of the reserved food material. At the two ends of the embryonal axis are present the radicle and the plumule. In some seeds, such as a castor, the endosperm forms as a result of the double fertilization is a food storing tissues and called as endospermic seed. In plants such as the beans, grams and the peas, the cotyledons are not present in the mature seeds and such seeds are called as a non-endospermic seed. 5.7.2 is the structure of the monocotyledon seed. Generally, the monocotyledon seed are the endospermic, but some, as in the orchids, are the non-endospermic. In the seed of the cereals, such as the maize, and the seed coat is a membranous and generally fused with the fruit wall. The endosperm is a bulky and stored food. Outer covering of the endosperm separates the embryo by a proteinaceous layer called as a aileron layer. The embryo is small and situated in the grooves at one end of the endosperm. It consists of the one large and the shield-shaped cotyledon known as the scutellum and a short axis with the plumule and the radicles. The plumule and the radicles are enclosed in the sheaths which are called as a coleoptile and coleorhiza respectively. 5.8 The semi-technical description of the typical flowering plants. Various morphological features are used to describe the flowering plant. Description has to be brief in the simple and the scientific language and present in the proper sequences. The plant is described beginning with its habitat, vegetative characters, roots, stem and the leaves, and then the floral characters, inflorescence and the flower parts. After describing the various parts of the plant, the floral diagram and the floral formula are represented. Floral formula is represented by some symbols. In the floral formula, the bract, BR stands for the bracteate, K stands for the calyx, C for the corolla, P for the perianth, A for the androecium, G for the gynoecium. G lower side dash for the superior ovary and G upper side dash for the inferior ovary. Then for the male sign, female sign, for the bisexual flower and actinomorphic and the zygomorphic nature of the flower. The fusion of the actinomorphic enclosing the figures within the bracteate and adhesion by the lines drawn above the symbols of the floral parts. The floral diagram provides the information about the number of parts of the flower and their arrangement and the relation they have with one another. The position of the mother axis with respect to the flower is represented by the dot on the top of the floral diagram. Calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium are drawn in the successive holes, calyx being the outermost and the gynoecium being the central floral center. Floral formula also shows the cohesion and the adhesion between the parts of the holes between holes. The floral diagram and the floral formula in figure represent the mustard plant, that is the family of the Brassicaceae. Now the 5.9 description of the some important families. 5.9.1 is a Fabaceae. This family was earlier called as a Papilionoideae, and the subfamily is a Leguminosae, and it is distributed all over the world. Now the vegetative characters: tree, shrubs, herbs, roots with root nodules, stem is erect and climber, leaves are the alternate, pinnately compound or the simple, leaf base is pulvinate, stipulate, venation is a reticulate. Now the floral characters: inflorescence is the racemose, flower is a bisexual and the zygomorphic, calyx having the sepals are 5, gamosepalous, volvate or imbricate estivation, corolla are the petals are the 5, polypetalous, consisting of the posterior standard, 2 lateral wings and the 2 anterior one forming the keels enclosing the stamens and the pistil and the vexillary estivation. Androecium are the 10, diadalpous, another dithecous. Gynoecium, the ovary is a superior, monocarpellary, unilocular with many whorls and the style are the single. Fruits are the legumes, seeds, one or the many, non-endospermic. Now economic importance of Fabaceae. Many plant belongs to this family. The source of the pulses, that is a gram, arhar, same, moong, soybean, edible oils like the soybean, groundnut, in dry form the indigofera, fibers are the sunhame, for the fodder purpose the sesbania, then the trifolium, for the ornamental purpose the lupine and the sweet pea, and for the medicinal purpose is the mulethi, etc. Now the 5.9.2 is a Solanaceae. It is the last family commonly called as a potato family. It is widely distributed in the tropic, subtropical and even temperate zones. The vegetative character: plant mostly herbs, shrubs and rarely small trees. Stems are herbaceous, rarely woody, aerial, erect, cylindrical and the branch and the solid or the hollow, hairy and the glabrous. Underground stem in the potato, that is the Solanum tuberosum. Leaves are alternate, simple, rarely pinnately compound, exstipulates, venation is a reticulate. Floral characters: inflorescence is the solitary, axillary or the cyme as in the Solanum. Flowers are bisexual and actinomorphic. Calyx are the sepals of the 5, united, persistent and volvate estivation. Corolla, the petals are the 5, united and volvate estivation. Androecium, the stamens are the 5, epipetalous. Gynoecium, the bicarpellary, obligate, placed. Syncarpous, ovary is superior, bilocular, placenta is swollen with many ovals and exit. Fruits are the berry or the capsule type. Seeds are the many and endospermous. Now, economic importance are many plants belong to this family and are a source of the food like the tomato, brinjal, potato. Spices like the chili, medicine like the belladonna, ashwagandha, fumigatory like the tobacco, and ornamental like the petunia. Now, the 5.9.3 is a Liliaceae, commonly called as a lily family. Is a characteristic representative of the monocotyledonous plant, and it is distributed worldwide. Vegetative characters are pinnately herb, perennial herb with the underground bulb or corm of the rhizomes. Leaves are mostly basal, alternate, linear, exstipulate with the parallel venation. Floral characters, the inflorescence is a solitary or the cyme, often the umbellate clusters. The flowers are the bisexual and actinomorphic. Periantha, the tepals are the 3+3 in form, often united into the tubes and valvate estivation. Androecium is the stamen is a 3+3 epipetalous. Gynoecium is the tricarpally syncarpous. Ovary is superior, trilocular with the many ovules and axial placentation. Fruits capsules rarely vary, and seeds are the endospermous. Floral formula. Economic importance of this family is the many plant belonging to this family are the good ornamental like the tulip, gloriosa, and the source of the medicine like the aloe vera. Vegetables like the asparagus and the colchicine is the colchicine autumnales. Now, the summary of the 5th chapter of the morphology of the flowering plant. The flowering plant exhibits the enormous variation in the shape, size, structure, and the mode of nutrition, lifespan, habit, and the habitat. They have the well-developed root, shoot, and the systems. The root system is either the taproot or the fibrous. Generally, dicotyledonous plants have a taproot, while the monocotyledonous plant have the fibrous root. The roots in some plants get modified for the storage of the food, the mechanical support, and the respiration. The shoot system is differentiated into the stem, leaves, flowers, and the fruits. The morphological features of the stem, like the presence of the nodes and internode, multicellular hairs, and positively phototrophic nature, helps to differentiate the stem from the root. The stem also gets modified to perform the diverse functions such as the storage of the food, vegetative propagation, and the production under the different conditions. Leaf is a lateral outgrowth of the stem developed exogenously at the nodes. These are the green in the color to perform the functions of the photosynthesis. Leaves exhibit the marked variation in their shape, size, margin, apex, and extents of the incision of the leaf blade, that is the lamina. Like other parts of the plants, the leaves are also get modified into the other structures such as the tendrils, spines for climbing and the protection respectively. The flowers is a modified shoot meant for the sexual reproduction. The flowers are arranged in the different parts of the different types of inflorescence. They exhibit the enormous variation in the structure, symmetry, position of the ovary in relation to the other parts, arrangement of the petals, sepals, and ovary. After fertilization, the ovary is modified into the fruit and the ovule into the seeds. Seed either may be monocotyledonous or the dicotyledonous, and they vary in the shape, size, and period of the variability. The floral characters forms the basis of the classification and the identification of the flowering plants. This can be illustrated through the semi-technical description of the families. Hence, the flowering plant is described in the definite sequences by using the scientific terms. The floral features are represented in the summarized form as a floral diagram and the floral formula. Thank you so much.